I swear that WWE is the equivalent of ping pong or table tennis. Like you get a Raw and it's pretty good, and then you watch SmackDown and you're like, oh, that was a little bit weird. But then you get a Raw that's like, oh, that's a little bit weird. And then SmackDown is really good. And in case you aren't going to watch the end of this video, what I am telling you is that this week's episode of SmackDown gets a couple of thumbs. It was really good. But there's still so much more we need to talk about, which is why I, Simon Miller, are going to take the finger of power and give the good bits an up and give the good bits a down. I'm thrusting. Don't thrust. No thrusting as a rule. And also a quick thanks to all of you who did watch Retro Ups and Downs. Go check it out for the Royal Rumble 2000. It went live yesterday. And keep your eye on that community feed because some new choices are going to go up there soon and you get to vote. But for now, let's up those damn downs. Oh my gosh, I love these new SmackDown starts. You know what I'm talking about? Where you get a bunch of performers cutting promos to camera as you get the Batman music in the background. I know I say the same thing every week, but they are flipping awesome. You had Sasha Banks and Bayley here acting like a couple of cartoon villains. You had Big E, who's like half serious and half goofy, which is exactly what I wanted. The Miz and John Morrison are slowly transforming into Statler and Waldorf from the Muppets, and that could be the greatest thing ever. We also had Naomi, Lacey Evans, AJ Styles, and Gran Metalik letting you know why you should sit down and watch the whole show and promoting their matches. And also, because Gran Metalik was in Spanish, I went and translated it so you know what's going on. Because he said this, he goes, man, it's nice to finally be featured on TV, even though, yes, it did come out of nowhere. And to be honest, I'm just happy that I wasn't put in a story which stopped for no reason. Like, who the hell was the hacker? You ain't wrong there, Leak. We also cut from these to the Firefly Fun, which is essentially the same thing, with just Bray Wyatt doing it in his own unique way. And he told us that the Fiend is now going after Braun Strowman's Universal Championship and that Braun is still in the swamp. So he's dead. This is just a great way to kick things off. I mean, it will run its course eventually, but there'll be a good while before that happens, and it just serves as a giant advert for giving your time to WWE SmackDown. What's that? Yes, I agree. Let's get it up. It was then right into the Intercontinental title match, which is not a bad way to continue this momentum on. It was AJ Styles versus Gran Metalik, and it's also getting it up. Now, while I was massively enthused that Metalik was getting a shot, what I would like to do from here on out, just a little aside, is build guys like this up so when we do get to the big hoo-hoo, ha-ha, can't believe it matchup, there's just a little tingling in our stomachs that maybe, just maybe, they might be able to win. That was the only downside here. At no point did I actually think AJ Styles was going to lose his IC title, but there's ways and means going forward. Not that any of that really matters here. I mean, AJ Styles was really aggressive early on. He was stomping Gran Metalik, and Metalik was like, ow, my leg. And then Gran, can we call him Gran? Is that all right? We'll call him Gran. And then Gran kept busting out his big moves because he's just so agile. He's like a penguin, he's like a swan. No, they're not agile. He's just really, really agile. I don't get how some people move this way. I mean, what are the cross bodies he did? My word, I have read poetry that is not as beautiful as that. Unfortunately though, because AJ had worked on his legs so much, he was struggling a little bit, but he still had the smarts to get out of the way of the phenomenal forearm and smash Styles with an enziguri. He then took this a little step too far because he once again tried to utilize the ropes. His leg was not in good shape. AJ Styles hit him with a chop block in midair. What the hell was that? He locked on the calf crusher and Gran, not my Gran, it wasn't my nan, Gran, he tapped out. So this was so good, but yeah, imagine the exact same thing, just with that seed of doubt where you thought Gran Metalik was actually going to win. Of course, AJ Styles afterwards attacked Lince Dorado because one, he's a giant asshole, and two, at the time I thought maybe they were going to do that match, but then WWE teased something else later, so we will wait and see. But if you are looking for a bout involving AJ Styles in the Intercontinental Championship, why don't you take my nan? I mean, we're calling him Gran. My nan can come in. There's a small problem in that my nan passed away, but she was a lovely woman. I just wanted to shout her out. We then had a back and forth backstage between Baron Corbin and Shorty G, and if you can believe it, the King was being nice to the walking biscuit. And he was trying to rile him up. He was all like, oh, look at Matt Riddle getting all these opportunities. You should be getting these opportunities. Why don't you try and sort this out? Just saying, just saying. And Shorty seemed dubious about this at the time, but put it in your brain and keep it there, because we shall talk about it No one thought this was going to happen tonight. We then got a recap of everything that's been happening between Sheamus and Jeff Hardy, including the bar fight from 7 days ago. And Michael Cole was desperate to let us know, because Jeff Hardy did indeed win that brawl, it's over, it's done, we're not going to do that feud anymore. And at the time, I was audibly going, yeah, whatever, Michael Cole, I know how World Wrestling Entertainment works. But actually, I think he was telling the truth. We'll get there. Here, though, he was basking in the glory, given the fact that he did win and that he is a recovering alcoholic, before he got interrupted by Baron Corbin. And Baron didn't want to hear any of this. He was like, Jeff, I'm bored of this. Shut the hell up. Nobody has it harder than me, because I've got to deal with Matt Riddle, who can't even find his shoes. And for some reason, I got to take on Drew Gulak in a match. Jeff then mocked Corbin, because why not? So Corbin mocked him for being a drunk. I'm just done with all of this. I don't want every single Jeff Hardy storyline to be like, oh, he used to drink alcohol, it was a problem. And Jeff to be like, oh, I've recovered. This is serious stuff, and sometimes it feels like we're taking it a little bit too lightly. Down. However, Drew Gulak then did indeed attack the King from nowhere to kickstart their match. And I will tell you this, it was alright. It didn't last very long, but they did exactly what they needed to do, and even the commentators were filling us in on story, because they were like, well, why wouldn't Drew Gulak want to go after the King's ransom? Who doesn't want a pretty penny? But then they realised, oh no, wait, Gulak helped train Matt Riddle, he's not going to turn his back on that. I like it. It's the little things, I tell you, the little damn things. Even with this, WWE still had to have some nonsense, but I suppose if you're going to do it, I'll go along with the ride as best I can. Because 3/4 into this match, Matt Riddle's music just hit, and he started to saunter down to the ring. Now, I suppose the idea here was to distract Baron Corbin, and Drew Gulak did attempt to do that by using the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment. But Baron was able to get out of that. He hit the end of days. He got the 1, 2, 3. Which meant Matt kinda, by accident, screwed over his own friend. Forget that though, because what happened after? My word, to the point I've glued my hands onto my head. I gotta stop doing that. Oh, they came off, amazing. But yeah, Matt Riddle started to beat up Baron Corbin, and who came out to make the save? It was Shorty G. He gave Riddle like a rolling German suplex, and then he stared at the King and he made that money sign. Either that or he was just doing weird things with his hands. So has Shorty G gone heel? Now I'm going to tell you this, my worry is that we're only doing it because someone went, you know what would make a good match? Matt Riddle versus Shorty G. So in a couple of weeks' time, we will have forgotten about this. But if we are finally going to light a fire under Shorty G, the first thing we have to do is change his stupid name. If I'm a new fan and I tune in and I see this kind of badass wrestler who's meant to be a big evil guy, but then I find out his name is Shorty G, I'm not going to be impressed. It's like watching a movie and the villain's name is Dingleberry. No one's going to be scared of Dingleberry. It sounds like fruit you put in your Christmas drink. Oh, do you want some Dingleberries? Ah, I do, Grandma. Oh, she's back. Hey, don't. Lovely. Corbin laughed like he was in Pinky and the Brain, and the two left together. So get out your 2020 bingo cards, there's nothing there, and cross off Shorty G and Baron Corbin as a team. I never saw it coming. We then had The Miz versus Big E. For no reason at all. Somebody please tell me why.
Well, yes, it was me, but come on now, you stupid bald asshole. You have to have some exhibitions here and there just to make sense of things. You've gone too far here. Sometimes you need to take a step back and think about things. Well, of course, I woke up and I went, Hallelujah! And then I made these things happen. Also, Amazon, can you please deliver my robe? I ordered a robe a long time ago to try and make this character work, breaking kayfabe here, and still haven't delivered it. I've got in touch with your customer services, and still nothing. But yes, it was me.
Great, now even my own characters are coming after me. This was really exciting though, because of course it is the start of Big E's singles push, and I am more pumped for that than the day somebody makes pizza you can eat for 72 hours and it doesn't have any calories in it. I do get what WWE was trying to do here. Because he was taking on The Miz, he was essentially also taking on John Morrison, who kept being a goofball on the outside. And yet despite all of that, Big E was able to get past it and make The Miz tap out with the stretch muffler. Who knew that Big E had the stretch muffler in his arsenal? But it is a good submission move for him, because he's basically holding a dude in the air. It makes him look really strong. The key is that he did win and that he took out two people at once. But just the tiniest part of me, like 1.2%, would have loved it if Big E had just run roughshod through all of them. I mean, we allowed Braun Strowman to do that, so why not Big E? There was also some gaga because the referee had to send John Morrison to the back, and that didn't do Big E any favours. But look, it really doesn't matter. He won. And I would say, if you were going to book it the way I just said, don't do it with Miz and John Morrison. You've already made them too much of a joke. But again, take all of that, throw it in the toilet. The big thing is that Big E got a win. The commentators put him over strong. The commentators put him over hard. And I can't wait for this. I mean it. Survivor Series 2020, The Fiend, the brand new Universal Champion, taking on Big E, and I want Big E to win. Oh, somebody had to say it. I said it. You want to come at me, you come. Because I am on the Big E boat. That's right. I'm going to start right now. The Big E boat, and I'm not going to get off. Even if it goes down like the Titanic, I'll go down with it. Even still, I'm so enthused about this, I am giving it 47 ups. Then take away those 47 ups and just give it 1 up. I'm not breaking my system. What is this? Dave Meltzer? That's a joke. I really like Wrestling Observer. Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro then fell out with the Lucha House Party backstage. This was actually quite entertaining because our tag team champions were having like a champion celebration party. And then when these two idiots turned up, they're like, you don't have any championship belts, get out. Also for you, Gran Metalik, you couldn't even beat AJ Styles. So I suppose we're building up to do a run of tag team matches between these guys. Feels a little bit out of nowhere. How you doing, my friend up there? But I get it. And also, yeah, like I said earlier, probably doesn't mean we are getting Dorado versus Styles. But Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura needed someone. Why not these two? And then, Sheamus. Oh dear. Hello, my name is Simon Miller and welcome to another episode of Nobody Talks Like That with me, Simon Miller. I said it twice, I just got confused. But yes, Sheamus, the Irish curse, was cutting a promo here. And he said, every time I smashed a beer bottle over Jeff Hardy's head, I watched him getting stronger and stronger. And I knew I was in there with a greater power than myself. And even though no booze touched his lips, I knew he was fueled by alcohol. Well, my friend Sheamus, nobody gets stronger or harder when you hit them over the head with a bottle. 9 times out of 10, what happens is that blood starts gushing from their head, and often they actually die. But you said it and you shouldn't, because nobody talks like that. So yeah, that is not a thing, but also Sheamus reminded us that he too is done with Jeff Hardy, and now the rest of the SmackDown roster needs to be on notice. So I think we are done with this. That gets a couple of thumbs. And also, let's do something really flipping badass with Sheamus now. He is underrated. That's a hill I will die on. This is me standing on my hill. There's no sniper. Naomi and Lacey Evans were then ready to settle their issues in the ring. And you remember their issues. Lacey thinks that she should have won a singing contest, and she didn't. That is deep. Still, it was fine, up. And yes, there were a few slips and slides, including that Canadian destroyer thingy bob on the outside that didn't really go to plan, but I've made my thoughts on that very clear. I am not going to stand here and crap on people for making mistakes. I don't think it's fair. Plus, we did get the right winner, which was Naomi. So yeah, it's far better than them getting into a war by singing at each other. Talk about lowering the bar. Even still, you know the deal. We mentioned this recently, and I'm going to do whatever I can to fight back because, yes, WWE went and used the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment in the surprise roll-up. And before you say it, this still counts because Lacey Evans went for a punch, Naomi ducked, she got her in a backslide that was surprising and got the 1, 2, 3. And she could have just used her finishing move for the record. And for those people that are like, backslide is not the same as a surprise roll-up, you're the same people that went, the PSP is different from the Nintendo 3DS. No, it's not. They're portable gaming machines, and also the Nintendo 3DS is far better. Still down. Also, yes, bring it down. You know what we've got to do. That is number 37, and we've only been going since March. I then laughed a lot. I don't think I was meant to laugh a lot, but I am a bald asshole, I am a goof, and that's just what happens because we had Mandy Rose and Otis backstage, and this got me excited. Mandy was saying, Otis, we haven't been on a date in such a long time, and then they made a date, or they got plans to go and have dinner later. But the way she said it at first sounded like their date was having a walk around the performance center. Can you imagine? Can you imagine you were going out with someone and you hadn't dated in a while and they said, babe, I got this really good idea. And they're like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? We're gonna go for a stroll at the PC. You'd be like, you know what? I think this relationship is over. This was just a big tease for what was about to come though, because when they both went off to get ready, Sonya Deville appeared in the background like some kind of cartoon villain. I mean, if she had come out with one of those ear things that like Looney Tunes used to do to listen through walls, I wouldn't have been surprised. She looked really mad. With that said, holy shit, Sonya then did indeed track down Mandy, who was putting on lipstick. She grabbed the lipstick and just scrawled all over her face, much like, Naomi and Lacey Evans had done last week. And then not only did she punch her really hard, but she got some scissors and she started to cut chunks out of Mandy Rose's hair. She even threatened to shave her head at one point, which I think she would have done if it wasn't for those meddling kids. Meddling referees. We then came back to this and thankfully Otis and Tucker arrived to calm things down, and Otis must be feeling guilty because he was with her like 3 minutes before and I forgot how badass both these two, they just get their characters. And I believe everything they say, I believe everything they do is get it up. I also think we've got a new program out the back of it, because as Kayla Braxton was trying to figure out what was going on, The Miz and Morrison turned up and they started to mock everything that had just happened. I mean, how mean is that? Now, John Morrison at one point did go, I can't believe they did that to Mandy Rose. Her hair is her thing. And that made me chuckle, but it also pissed off Tucker, who shooed them away. So I guess at some point we will get The Miz and John Morrison versus Heavy Machinery. It got me intrigued. It made me want to tune in next week to see where it's going to go. Like a fish swimming down the plains. Good. It was then the main event between Bayley and Nikki Cross for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And while WWE did do one thing that we expected, they also did another that just honestly came out of the blue. It made me go flubbing Nora, and who the hell is Nora? This was a way to end your show. It is getting it up. The match itself was decent too. I thought it was a really fun back and forth, and it had a strong finish. Oh my gosh, how I like those. Because Nikki Cross did go for a backslide. Bayley was like, not losing to a backslide, you moron. And then hit her with that new finish she does where she takes her leg and smashes someone's face into the floor. And she got the 1, 2, 3. Bayley looks great. And I know Nikki Cross has lost a lot, but there was a reason for it, as I had predicted. And I know that Stevie Wonder could have predicted this, but it still makes me feel good. Because afterwards, Nikki was so distraught that she wasn't able to get yet another victory. This is like loss number 72,144. Even though Alexa Bliss was like, Nikki, calm down. It's gonna be okay. We can go and get some coffee. Nikki turned around and once again she shoved Alexa to the floor. She's not putting up with any of her shit. And then, my friends, after she had stormed off, leaving poor Alexa Bliss in the ring all by herself, the lights started to go off. We were like, what the hell is going on? And none other than the Fiend, you know the Fiend, turned up right in front of her. Alexa sold this like Freddy flipping Krueger had just arrived, and they had this really awkward, tense, atmospheric moment where they kind of stared at each other as Bray Wyatt took the mandible claw and, reached it slower and slower towards her mouth. To the point you're like, well, he won't mandible claw Alexa Bliss. And then he went, whoop, and he put it in her mouth, and I went, oh my days. SmackDown then went off air with Bray Wyatt shouting, Strowman! And I would have preferred it if he had shouted, Mendoza! But you can't have everything. Still though, we had that tease at Extreme Rules, and now this. I bet it melted down like 20% of the internet wrestling community who, since the dawn of time, have been like, I think Alexa Bliss should resist Abigail. Well, now you're going to get your chance. And honestly, what a flipping good way to end this show. I already mentioned how it makes me want to tune in for next week, and that did this again. Also, Bray Wyatt, Alexa Bliss. Is Alexa Bliss going to go heel? Is Nikki Cross going to feel bad? There are so many questions, and I'm desperate to get the answers. What it better not mean is that Strowman hears the cries from under depths of the water, rises up, and then comes to SmackDown next week as Zombie Braun. Well, actually, now I've said that, you could do a lot worse. The only worry I have here is that if the Fiend is now just going to attack anyone, am I all right? Do I have to? I mean, I'm not scared. I'm not like Seth Rollins, carry the corner. I'll take on the Fiend. I'm a big brave boy. Big brave bull boy. So I don't know what the hell they've been drinking backstage at WWE, but this was a really good edition of SmackDown. I mean, there was still some flubbabagoo, but there's always some flubbabagoo. It's WWE. But overall, strap me in. I had a roller coaster good time, which means is getting it up. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about last night's SmackDown. I don't know, you're just going to talk about whether Alexa Bliss's sister Abigail, but I hope you have a good time doing it. Like the video, share the video, hit the subscribe button, head over to WhatCulture.com, read yourself some articles, follow WhatCulture on Twitter, WhatCulture WWE, and watch more videos here on WhatCulture Wrestling, including retro ups and downs. It's there and it's waiting. My name is Sam from WhatCulture. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'm intrigued about Raw. Maybe after the financial call, if you saw it. Vince McMahon said he's going to build new stars and try new things. I keep everything crossed. Please don't let me down again.